So a couple of days ago, I completed Vesper's host flawlessly on the Hunter class. It was a tough challenge, but I actually think it's one of the easier dungeons to solo flawless once you get the hang of everything. So if you were gonna attempt it, how should you go about doing it? What are the easiest methods, a couple of tips, and what subclass should you use? To answer that last question, throughout the entire dungeon you will want to be on Prismatic. For each encounter, I will provide the build that I used. First, when you spawn, you will need to enter the facility. To do that, you must shoot 4 panels that are located throughout the first room. In order to figure out what panels you must shoot, you need to pick up the yellow scanner buff and walk right up to the panels. A sound will indicate whether or not you must shoot the panel that you're looking at. After you find all 4 panels, grab the red operator buff, which will allow you to damage the panels and continue. You will instantly die if you shoot the wrong panel, so be careful. This first room acts as the introduction to the mechanics you will be interacting with throughout the dungeon. Once you make it past what is essentially the tutorial, you will need to make your way to the first encounter. Follow where I'm going on screen to get there. Remember that there will be some trip mines laying around, so be careful and take it slow. For the first encounter, you will want to equip the Parasite Exotic Grenade Launcher and use the Golden Gun Super paired with Celestial Nighthawk. Abilities that chain damage such as the Arc Bolt Grenade and Threaded Spike Melee work great in this encounter since you can charge up Parasite's Worm Hunger rather quickly. And lastly, I used the Parabellum with Heal Clip. I opted to use this weapon because it's fully automatic and there are a lot of adds with low health. At the time of recording this, Parabellum is the only SMG in the game with Heal Clip. Other automatic weapons with Heal Clip you might want to consider if you don't have a Parabellum with Heal Clip are the Summoner, Abyss Defiant, and the Heliocentric. Here are the fragments I used along with the armor mods I have equipped during this first encounter. There are 3 orbs you must deposit in the middle of the arena in order to progress through the dungeon. To spawn the orb, you must go into each of the 3 rooms that are located around the arena, indicated by the flashing red lights above their doors. While you're in the rooms, you must pick up the scanner buff and locate the 4 panels you need to shoot with the operator buff, just like in the first room, in order to spawn the orb. The scanner buff will initially spawn in the middle of the map where you start the encounter from, held by a dreg. While you're making your way through each room, make sure to kill every ad that spawns. I had died a couple of times from the doors not opening just because I didn't kill one ad. It's important to note that it matters where you deposit the buffs. For example, I like to start by going to the room located in the back left. After killing everything and it's time to deposit scanner, instead of depositing at the first station I see, I instead go to the second deposit station. This will make shooting the panels in the second room I visit much easier since operator will be closer to the panels. There will be 4 mini bosses that spawn in each of the side rooms. You must kill the first 2 mini bosses to progress. The other 2, however, will spawn in the panel rooms when you get there. After all 4 panels are found and shot, an orb will spawn. The orb can be left on the ground for a total of 1 minute before it detonates and you need to spawn another one. While holding an orb, you will gain stacks of radiation that will kill you if it stacks up to 10 times. While you're holding the orb and making your way back to the middle, there will be a brig that spawns preventing you from depositing the orb. Now is when you'll want to use the Parasite and Golden Gun Super. Kill it and deposit the orb in the middle and repeat for the other 2 rooms. After you clear out the last room, a bigger brig will spawn. Personally, I took it slow here and killed it in 2 phases since it's a lot safer that way, especially because when the orb timer runs out, it detonates and will kill you. So when there's about 8 seconds left on the orb, I recommend taking it somewhere you don't plan to be at so when it detonates, you don't accidentally kill yourself. If you don't kill the boss brig the first time around, that's okay. You just need to return to the last room you were at and shoot the panels again in order to spawn the orb once more. Once you complete the first encounter, there will be a pseudo encounter where you must deposit 5 orbs in different deposit locations around the map. Fallen captains spawn the orbs you need to deposit, but you will need to pay attention to the bottom left of your screen. There you will find your power reserves, which is used to open and close doors in this section of the dungeon. You will need to open and close doors behind you in order to keep your power reserves. The boss from the second encounter will be here. Try to avoid him because if he looks at you for 5 seconds, you will instantly die. Follow where I'm going on screen to get to the second encounter. During the second encounter, I loadout swapped between 2 builds, Winter Shroud and Stylus Executioner paired with Combination Blow and Gambler's Dodge. This will make surviving in the second encounter room very easy. For the super, I used Silence and Squall, and my exotic weapon was Wardcliff Coil. Everything I mentioned here was the same in both builds. While running around and doing the mechanics of the encounter, my build consisted of an Aberrant Action Rocket Sidearm with Incandescent and Heal Clip, as well as a Scatter Signal Fusion Rifle with Controlled Burst. But before DPS, I would loadout swap to instantly equip equip marksman dodge, the lost signal area denial grenade launcher, a Zali's Bane hand cannon to shoot the panels, and the Radiant Dance Machine's exotic leg piece. Fragments and armor mods will be the same across both builds. The second encounter is just as easy as the first encounter. To start off, enemies are constantly spawning. Use combination blow and gambler's dodge to stay alive. The first step, however, is to kill the shank holding the operator buff and deposit it in the middle of the arena. After killing ads for a short time, a mini boss will spawn. Killing them will teleport you to a different section of the map with a whole bunch of normal and exploding shanks. The aberrant action rocket sidearm will one-shot all the shanks, making this section pretty easy. Just sit back and let the exploding shanks funnel to you. Occasionally you will go invisible because we're pairing Stylus Executioner with Incandescent, and if you need health, reloading after a kill will instantly heal you because of heal clip. If you don't have an aberrant action with those perks, try to get a Luna's Howl with the exact same perks. Just keep in mind it will take 2 shots to kill each shank, so if that's the case, play rather cautious. After every shank is killed, a new mechanic will be introduced. It's a blue pickup called Suppressor and is carried by a shank that spawns after all other shanks are killed and replaces your grenade when picked up. Using Suppressor will spawn a decoy of yourself that when detonated will damage the boss, splitting it into 10 smaller versions of itself. 2 out of the 10 servitors will be glowing, and their name will reveal the numbers you must shoot in just a bit. It's important to note that you can tell which servitor is glowing by if they have extra eyes. While practicing this encounter, I took too long in this section and the glow would stop, making it impossible to tell which number I needed to shoot. But after I figured out that their eyes was another indicator, there was no longer an issue. Once you figure out which numbers you have, type it in the chat so you don't forget. Controller users can sit in this spot for safety while typing. In order to damage the boss, you will need 4 numbers, so repeat until you get the second set of numbers. Once you have all 4 numbers, you can loadout swap to the second build. I personally waited until I had combination blow at ×3 again before I would switch so I can instantly regenerate the dodge ability. Picking up operator will once again allow you to shoot the panels and begin the damage phase. Deposit the operator buff back at the drop-off station. A shank will spawn in the middle of the map with the suppressor buff. I like to throw my dust field grenade where the shank spawns to apply the slow debuff so I can go invisible when I kill it. Use suppressor on the boss once again to begin damage. The combo I tried to consistently do was use the lost signal grenade launcher, go transcendent, pop my super, use the transcendent grenade, then spam the Wardcliff coil, dodging to reload after every shot since Radiant Dance Machines is equipped. This boss fight took me about 5 damage phases to complete, and that's only because I missed the smallest bit of damage, so it's totally doable in 4 phases. Once the second encounter is completed, your next challenge is a jumping puzzle. I recommend using the grapple grenade as a failsafe in this part. There won't be a whole lot of enemies in this section. The toughest enemy is actually in the beginning, and you can grapple right past them. Be cautious as there will be lightning strikes that spawn throughout the jumping puzzle, which is a mechanic during the final boss fight. One hit from the lightning strike can kill you, so be really careful. Follow the route I take and you'll be fine. After you make it through the jump puzzle, you're at the final encounter, and man, is it rough for hunters. My loadout ended up switching back to Golden Gun and Celestial Nighthawk, with the grapple grenade replacing Dust Fields, and Threaded Spectre replaced Winter Shroud. Facet of Purpose is a lifesaver in this part, as it's the only way you can obtain restoration on Prismatic. My weapon loadout changed entirely. I used a kinetic sidearm to shoot panels when needed, an energy shotgun with 1-2 punch to increase combination blows damage, and my heavy weapon switched to Anarchy. Make sure you have 3 heavy-handed mods for orb generation and arc weapon holster to reload Anarchy over time during the damage phase. The final encounter begins with 2 mini boss puppeteers spawning along with some ads. One of the enemies that will be spawning will be holding the suppressor buff. The 2 mini bosses will be immune to damage and will have a blue aura around them that will cause you to gain stacks of radiation. Detonating the suppressor buff next to these mini bosses will cause their shields to break. After both mini bosses are killed, an enemy holding the scanner buff will spawn along with another set of mini boss puppeteers. Killing the second set of mini bosses will spawn another enemy. This time they're going to be holding the operator buff. I personally wait until both waves of puppeteers are killed before I start collecting the other 2 buffs. Deposit the suppressor buff here in the right terminal and pick up the scanner buff. There will be 4 panels in the middle of the arena with a number in them. Find which number is active and deposit scanner in the far left terminal. Pick up operator and shoot all 4 panels that are corresponding to the number you got, then deposit operator in the middle terminal. After the panels are shot, the boss will move downstairs. The flashing red lights above the doors will indicate what side the boss is on. When you drop down, there will be more mini boss puppeteers that spread radiation. These mini bosses can be ignored in this section. Make your way over to the room the boss is in and pick up the operator buff, then shoot all 4 panels located around the room. The entrance will become blocked off and you must then pick up the scanner buff. The boss will create 4 copies of themselves and you must use the scanner buff to figure out which one of the 4 you must kill. Killing the wrong boss will end your run, but killing the right one will drop an orb you must pick up and deposit in the middle of the room. room. After the orb gets deposited, you must do the same but for the second room. Essentially just rinse and repeat. While traversing towards the second room, you might come across some trip mines. Most of the trip mines in this encounter can be ignored, but there is one set I always destroy because I have died to them in the past while practicing this encounter. The room on the right I found to be more challenging because there isn't much cover. After shooting the 4 panels around the room and depositing the operator buff, I would then grapple over to scanner and wait behind the stairs for a couple of seconds if I needed to regenerate some health. If the first 2 boss copies weren't the ones I needed to kill, I would then go to the middle of the room and place the Threaded Spectre Deckwave to take the aggro off me while I check the other 2 copies. It takes 2 shotgun shots to kill the boss copy and spawn the orb. Once both rooms are cleared out, it's time for the damage phase. This is the biggest challenge in the entire dungeon. First of all, the boss will almost constantly create long-ranged and melee copies of itself. Then there will be lightning that strikes where you're standing and it will one-hit you if you get struck by it. There is also an area of effect that's left behind from the lightning and you will take damage if you step in it. So how do you complete this without dying? The answer is simple. Don't stop moving and don't try to damage the boss. The way you want to play this is by damaging the boss with abilities and weapons that will cause damage over time. Anarchy and the Transcendent Grenade will be the only thing you want to use on the boss aside from your Golden Gun Super. Before starting the damage phase, I would switch off my kinetic sidearm and re-equip the Lost Signal Grenade Launcher and make sure I was using triple jump. I would first damage the boss with Lost Signal, then switch to Anarchy and fire 2 shots. I then would use the Grapple Grenade to fling myself over to one of the boss copies and hit it with the Grapple Melee. Killing the copy after damaging it with the Grapple Melee turns you invisible. I would use that time to go Transcendent and throw the grenade at the boss, then use my Golden Gun Super. Immediately after using my super, I would use Anarchy on the boss again, then set my focus on the second boss copy. After killing the second copy, I would focus on staying alive by paying attention to where the lightning strikes and where the other boss copies were. Occasionally, I would reapply Anarchy and the Transcendent Grenade on the boss to continue damaging them. But if I felt like I had to, I would use them on the boss copies. It's all about staying alive, and damaging an enemy with the Transcendent Grenade will allow you to go invisible when they die, though I mainly used my shotgun to kill the copies. If you have to, you can always make a copy of yourself using Threaded Spectre to take the aggro off yourself so you can get the cover. After a short while, there will be a glowing copy of the boss. Killing it will spawn an orb you can use to extend the damage phase. When the boss goes immune, the room on the left side of the arena will open, allowing you to deposit the orb. If you deposit the orb and start the extended damage phase, you can go to that room for safety if you get low on health. When the damage phase is over, the boss will shoot a beam up into the sky that releases a shockwave. If you get hit by it, you will die, so jump down this hole to stay safe. Repeat until the boss is dead. After understanding this dungeon's mechanics and giving it a couple of attempts, I find that this is one of the easier dungeons to solo flawless, unlike Ghosts of the Deep. Anyways, I hope you found this video helpful, good luck in your attempts, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.